Call to order at 4:10. First order of business is minutes. So could I get a motion to approve the attached minutes from the January 19, 2022 meeting?
Am I the only one that's going to be able to approve?
You can make the motion, Wendy, and Meg can second. Or
We got
vice
it.
versa.
We got it, Wendy.
Okay, motion.
Okay, I will second. Any discussion, Wendy, or are you good?
I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are unanimously approved for meeting minutes. We're going to move right on to agenda item C, discussion of upcoming communication initiatives. And I think, Ira, this is you providing us an update.
Yeah, I have, if Devin, if you can put me on for a minute.
I think should be all set.
Okay. Let's see if we can get me on here. Screen share. All right, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure, okay, is it large enough for everyone to view okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
I can enlarge it if you need. All right, well, I had a talk this morning with Kat, going forward, I just wanted to get a timeline. So I kind of broke it down in sequence of dates in terms of doing it. Given that, other than the newsletter, my philosophy, you can never not communicate what you're doing enough in a community, particularly this project like this. It wouldn't hurt to just do an update. And Meg, I recommended maybe taking 10 or 15 minutes at one of your meetings and a quick slide deck, basically using the previous newsletter as a model in what we're doing, where things are right now, and putting a calendar and a timeline in there. So it'd be very short, and it's just good to rehash back since it's been quite a while. And that instead of, because Kat and I talked about doing a separate Zoom meeting, but I don't think at this point a separate Zoom meeting is going to do anything, because really in process right now, there's nothing to report other than what's going on. So if you agree to do that, just take 10, 15 minutes on your regular meetings or add it on just to do a quick thing, and I can help you with that. It's basically takes whatever's in the newsletter and any more updates on scheduling, timeline, stuff like that. So I have down on March here, a short slideshow using the newsletter we sent out, and add any current date and, promote this, or, send an email out to interested parties, individuals, PTOs. So at least they got the newsletter, but it never hurts to say it again. Here's where we are, who's doing what, that kind of thing. So Meg, if that's agreeable, it's really short, 15 minutes. Instead of taking a whole Zoom meeting.
I think that's fine, Ira. And if there's any way we can do it where it's, and it might just be that it's an editing thing, I have no idea, but something that we can pop out on social media for somebody to view quickly, or you know what I mean, something like that, that would be great too. I don't know, Devin, if that's, we have to administer it differently or what, but
we can
I think we can just cut that section of the recording, and we can post that on the website and on Facebook as well.
Great.
Yeah, I can create a quick PDF, Meg, and then you can just use that as people want to read it as much as present it.
Great.
The next one is understanding in April, from what Kat told me, by the end of March or the beginning of April, the building plans and design for the most part should be approved. So that's then a major news event. And that will be the next newsletter. And so that would go out, and then we send that out. We were debating, I would send it out first and then do a Zoom meeting, presenting and having the architect and, and Mark or Chris, whatever, talk about, here's the design, here's the components. I would definitely have the architect on for this one. This is a separate Zoom meeting, Meg, which probably be a good hour, and for Q&A, and really promote it, and doing it as, we could send a newsletter out first with it, but I think presenting it first and then following up the newsletter is probably a better sequence. Then in the meantime, promote it. And Kat brought a good idea up too. I think we should send a postcard to every household or major group, which is relatively inexpensive, to let them know, please come to the Zoom meeting. You're going to see what the high schools, what the design was approved by the building committee, by the, the town, and so forth. This is a major presentation. And so for sure, treat it as like, you guys approved it, here's almost a year later, here's what we got. And at that point too, when you're presenting it, it would be a Q&A about the site activity it's going to go on this summer, kind of in the fall time. So we should talk about timelines, things that are projected to happen during this, up to at least the fall time, how it's going to affect staffing, parking and security, since over the summer, people are going to come back and say, wow, where do I park? Is there security? What am I going to be doing? So this is a case of creating a Q&A. And Scott, maybe you can help out here with worst case scenarios. What do we do if it rains? Is a bus going to show up? What kind of traffic? We have to think of the worst questions or the questions that are the most, not negative, but challenging, being able to answer them. And this should be part of this newsletter. And you should be able to talk about it at this thing, saying, yes, there'll be disruption, but it'll be minimal, because here on this site, all we're used to park and using, not anymore. This is where it's going to be. So there won't be any surprises. And then this will be up on the website. I'll talk about the website in a minute, how that's going to help out. So Scott, I'm sure if you must have a plan about when this, the site is kind of now going to be fenced in for where they're going to be building, about how you're going to handle the fall time school reopening. That should be as part of this this should be part of that in the newsletter and part of the presentation. People aren't going to remember it, but it'll be in the newsletter and it'll be up on the website. So you don't have to deal with crazy calls, what's going on here. So your staff doesn't go, where are you going to park? Just really normal stuff. Does that make sense for you, Scott?
Yeah, no, I think we're going to have to do that and then have a more specific one out for our, so some of it will be carryover from the building. And I apologize jumping on a few minutes late, but we'll have that. And then we'll also have, I'm gonna have to have specific for parents at FHS with a deeper drill down of information provided to them. And, one thing we've done in the past, once we have and I know I missed the previous one, I caught up with Matt Ross for a few minutes, but like right now we have like a drone video of how to drive in and where to park. We might do some other things like that too, again, specific for our high school families. But I think I would also take what's on the FHS building committee that we answer more globally. And again, more specifically, there could even be a Q&A like, I'm a high school parent, what do I need to know? And just say, here's some general information, and know that more specific information will be provided by the school as it pertains to, and things might change over time. So I know that communication from the school to our families is going to be also critical and need to be clear.
Scott, here's a suggestion. Is it possible then to either do a slide deck or a video, if you're going to use drone and everything? So this will be posted up over the summer so people can do it. And I would suggest in this case here, if it's not a nuisance, to do a Zoom meeting sometime in early August or mid-August before school opens. So you can answer Q&A stuff. No matter what you do, you're going to have chaos the first opening. No matter what you do, people are going to they're not paying attention to this until they pay attention to it. And I know from all the communication we're doing, people are not planning. And so when they see a surprise, they're going to go there. And I guarantee you're going to have people saying, I didn't know what's going on over here. So the more you do up front, the less of this stuff you're going to have to deal with. So yeah. I think it'd be great to have some either slide deck or video that's going to be on the website, yours, and have a presentation where you open it up to the parents, particularly in your staff, and saying, here's what's going to happen, guys. Here's the parking. Here's what it is. And, do it once or twice. It wouldn't hurt you, so you don't have to deal with that. And once it settles in, the noise will go away.
Yeah, no, that we had our 8th grade parent orientation about a month ago, and I didn't go into detail, but I let them know, hey, we have a whole slide that we say, Farmington High School building. We're really excited for the new building. You should also know that you want to stay tuned, because we'll have lots of updates, as there'll be lots of change happening, not only with your kids and their transition through the high school, but also our physical space as well. So yeah, that's all part of our playbook already as we get ready for next year.
And you probably can come up with the questions. Can I still drop my kid off? Is it the same way? Where the bus is going to come from? Is the traffic going to change? I'm just thinking of basic questions that people, so when they prepare, do I come earlier? How do I pick them up at the end of the day? What do we do about sports? Where's this new parking space? I know this sounds like, in the weeds, but knowing and doing these projects, you cannot go into weeds enough about disruption. And once it settles down, I don't think you deal with it. So once you're addressing and saying this is what it's going to be like for short term, you probably have a little week of, I wouldn't say chaos, but probably some disruption. Because it's just out of the habit of what doing it. It'd probably be easier with your freshmen coming in because they haven't been there. Or if they have been there, they're going to adapt to it. But the ones that have been going, particularly your seniors. Anyway, that would be my suggestion for you to think about it. And we should, I think, Meg, talk about a little bit on the Zoom meeting. Not to go in crazy detail, but say, we're going to give you more information about how these patterns, what's going to be going on on the site to make it much, as convenient as possible for families or community to use the building.
Yeah, I think we're having our conversations around safety and, some
Right.
high level conversations around some of those things. I'm just thinking, like, as a parent who's going to have a kid there, I am that person.
Right.
So
It's-
it takes stepping out of my role and saying, okay, what would I want to know if I'm sending my kid up there? And he's a senior, so that's a different perspective of I got a senior driving in versus I got one on a bus versus I got one walking, all that stuff. So Scott, we can tee some of that up for you, but you guys, I know, will handle a
Yeah.
lot of that detail.
I recollect this as well. We had when O&G had initially interviewed and they had the Mark, maybe you can, or Chris can chime in here, but I recollect from my notes that typically when you do that community meeting, the superintendent of the project is usually on the call too. And I don't know if that is the same thing we're talking about, but usually we'll have a rep from, some of our reps and partners with us as well, to introduce. I know they do a lot in the neighborhood too in PR, but
Yeah.
but I do think all those are going to be really important steps for us once we have that solidified pre-construction plan. And I know again it was discussed a bit more in detail today, and I'd like to get my hands on that and review it with the police department as well to make sure once we have that plan, like I said, planning to communicate before the end of this school year and setting the date already before the end of the school year so families have that going into summer, because again, I know that not everybody tunes in until, they tune in at different points when summer goes, but by having something ready so people can put those dates in their calendar and be ready to have a conversation before we start school.
Yeah, you don't want to be, Scott, you don't want to be out there directing traffic.
We're out there a lot. We're out
I was
there a
gonna
lot.
say.
But we actually are in a really good shape with our traffic, about as good as we've had it. So we're ready for a shakeup again to take on some new challenges.
Meg, I'm just thinking, or Wendy, come up with those really simple, questions. What would you want to know? Do you have to come earlier? Just think of anything that would be a question from a parent, or if the kids are driving to school, what are the traffic patterns? Are they going to change? Because that'll minimize some chaos, at least the first few weeks, and saying, is everything planned out? Because Scott, as you know, as well planned as things are, something might not, or something happen. What if all the cars show up? Are you having staggered car delivery? The seniors come first and park 5 minutes earlier in this new parking lot, or is there room for them? I'm just thinking of all these common sense questions that they're going to, anything I know about schools, they like regularity and predictability. So we're going to an environment which is going to be unpredictable or unknown for at least a few weeks.
Right. Well, what I think is going to help greatly, and with the committee's approval of moving forward with the enabling plan, O&G will be in there for 6 weeks over the summer to set the stage, put it all in play. Temporary fencing, signage, temporary parking lot will be built. All of those things, the traffic patterns are laid out, so we can. And that plan is well on its way now. So once we get through town approvals, that's the time, and Scott goes through it, like he just said, making sure that, our town officials are good. Then we can start to communicate that plan. Like Scott said, people really don't start tuning in until it gets closer to the time they probably need to. But if we've got some good communication that we can continue to reinforce, I think you're going to be in a lot better shape than, here's what's going to happen this week. Next week, we're going to do this. The following week, your patterns are going to change over here, and we're going to move this fence that way. with our ability to get in there early, that takes away a lot of all of that. Geez, what's it going to look like next week?
Yeah, I mean, I know this sounds maybe funny, but it's like pretend you're driving to New York for the first time. And even though it's a familiar building, it's a new pattern or something, or you've been, or you're actually familiar to go to New York, all of a sudden there's a new road you have to take. And it's no different because human nature is such that they're used to patterns. And if you're going to that building a certain way, they're going to expect it, that you do. I'm sure you'll have everything in terms of safety under control. But the more we get out earlier, then people won't be, okay, that's how it works. People might even do dry runs. Who knows? To see how it's all going to work. Anyway, I know we're spending time on it, but I know from experience of doing this, traffic on site projects are always problems. It never, no matter how hard you work at it, but I'm sure you can say that.
No, I agree. Yeah, we're hoping to mitigate some of it.
Well, in October, so let
Hey,
me go
Ira,
on.
wait, look, just two quick things on the April piece. Just make sure scheduling, we're aware of April break is sitting in there. So from a scheduling perspective, be aware of that. And then the other piece to it is I just want to make sure we don't have to do it today, but have a conversation around neighborhood communication.
Yep.
And where does that fit into the conversation and how are you going to handle that?
Okay, so I have April break. You know the date on that?
It's April 11th through the 15th.
So it's a community engagement. It's I assume whatever committee you're talking about, Meg, too.
Just like a neighborhood engagement.
Neighborhood engagement.
Sorry, neighborhood.
It's,
sorry.
yeah, it's the neighbors specifically.
Yep,
So we
yep,
just have to figure out our strategy around that.
Yeah, and Scott, I think that's the other piece too, where we'll have, the superintendent who's going to be on the project, some of the O&G team who's going to be there and handing out their cell phone number to deal with, talk to and communicate with any neighbors. I mean, that was kind of the sell.
Yeah, you want to get Johnny in here to help out with the neighborhood stuff, Meg. All right, that's fine. And then in October, I understand Kat said that's when the groundbreaking is going to occur, early October. Is that scheduled yet?
No, not scheduled yet.
So we
No,
don't
we
know.
have our date on our pre-construction schedule, but I don't think that's going to be set in stone until we get a little bit closer.
You know when you're going to nail that date down?
I think it's a good suggestion from Scott to try to nail that down before people leave for the school year, just so they have it in their calendar. So I would aim for June to try to get a better idea as to when that's going to be.
Okay. And of course, you're going to invite and have dignitaries and hand out shovels. And I've been to those events. And, when I was at Wyndham High School, and I must have handed out 36 shovels. I don't know where they got them all. And that came from the construction crew. They were the ones that donated. Is that going to be the same case, Mark? It's usually
O&G we can ask O&G to purchase them. They'll pass through the fees to the town, but we can order whatever we want to order.
And Meg, you might want to thank, and Kat, who wants to say a few words? I was out in Wyndham, went on for 2.5 hours. There must have been 30 people talking. I'm thinking, I don't think you want that, but obviously the principals of people, and Scott, whoever, you think should be that. It's never too early to think about this. It's a political event.
I would love there to be a point person on this.
Mhm.
I don't want it to be me. That's my honest answer, just because this is not what I'm good at. So if somebody loves to do this kind of stuff, let's get them engaged. And I don't know if Scott, if that's somebody, high school related, if it's a community member, I don't know what people's thoughts are on this, but it's like, I think we need somebody who's passionate about doing this kind of thing.
I agree. Mike.
Yeah, I see 3 things that have to go on here. You have someone who's great at event planning and management. Right. There's the PR side to get as many people out there as possible. And Scott, how do you want to engage your high school as part of this? You're going to open it up so all the kids can come out, all the teachers. That's something, it's you have to, think about if that's what you want to do. or have it at a time that, you know, the school's closed and just do, you know, the high school's closed. I've seen it both ways.
Yeah, I'd be open to some feedback though. We built a greenhouse at a school I was a leader at previously, and we had
remember-
the whole school, but
Yeah.
we have you know, we're gonna have 1,500 people out, and you know, so it might, I don't know, I could go either way. It's obviously a really important event for this community. You know, to think about. I would be open to your advice regarding that.
Well, the option is, Scott, not having everyone, but you can have the class presidents representing each class. You know, you obviously, some of the teachers out there. Obviously, you know, when it gets to the Board of Ed and all the political types, Kat, you can work that probably through. But, you know, those are the three components of doing these things. An event planner approach, all the details, someone who really loves details about, you know, or handing anything out, the shovels, who's going to talk, how long. And you might, you know, come up with some kind of structure. Now, I can help you with this. I've done these things. And I think it's a matter of how you want to do it. Do you want it to go on for a couple hours? You want to keep it short and sweet? And that's your decision. I've seen it both ways. So, Meg, that might be just something you want to do, but something to think about in terms of, because this is the launching of the building. This is the investment. This is everything. The other thing is too, and I don't know if Devin could do this or Kat, it wouldn't be bad to record this or even have it available so you can put it on the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could do it live too if you want. In other words, people don't want to be there and they can pipe it in. They can do that.
Yeah, we could
too.
live stream it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely
live-
an option.
You can tape it and live stream it, and therefore people want to participate or at least be there, use the technology.
And Ira, I had mentioned last time, but I think it would be great to get media press.
Oh yeah, I'll work on that. I'm going to work on that, Wendy. That's
All right.
part of my
And
job.
I have a few connections too, so if you need.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
News and I can get them. And actually I was talking to one of my students here, maybe even recruiting them to maybe do a segment, because we could do it for any of the community. It doesn't have to be our school district. Or we could even work alongside with any Farmington High School students to do a Fox 61 student news segment on it. And that would be really neat to get a student involved.
I can tell you from doing this is not 3 hours of work. This is 20 to 30 hours if someone's coordinating it. It's so many details, even though it doesn't seem like that way. The more it's organized and done, the better it looks and it has more impact. Also, you have to look at, one thing I want to do too is that who's ever talking, we need to give them guidelines. I saw one, I just out at Wyndham, person went on for 20 minutes. It was, I wouldn't say insignificant, but not a major player. And you can see people are getting really anxious and antsy and they're standing up and looking at their iPhones. We don't want anyone to look at their iPhone. So just thoughts on planning. Whoever you get on this, Kat or Meg, I can work with them on the planning of this. And so when it's done, it looks smooth, professional, and exciting.
Okay, that sounds good.
And Scott, maybe if you can get a student, what this means to them, having this new high school. Nothing like hearing from our teacher. I've had that both happen. It's usually pretty emotional. So it's not the nuts and bolts stuff. So just think about that, Scott.
Yeah, I thought maybe an exiting student from a perspective of, you know, what they've just been through for the last 4 years, and then a incoming student and what it means to them to have it. Something like that.
Could be a legacy kind of approach.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not about to be able to do it, but I'll be back, you know, kind of thing. Anyway, these are things just to think about, Scott. We don't need to have it right away. And we can outline all this stuff down the road. But I think, you know, we have to look at the groundbreaking as a major event. Then in November, we get a newsletter out before Thanksgiving. It features some of the groundbreaking on-site activities, Q&A timeline to June 2023. So that's everything going forward, what's going to be happening, on-site activities and so forth. And so that newsletter is a highlight of the groundbreaking and also plans going forward, in terms of what's going to happen between that and June. I wouldn't go any further than that. Use the school year. And, you know, and Mark, whatever, you know, and Chris, whatever, you know, whatever the building was going on, whatever possible on the scheduling, we should include that in the newsletter. Then the last thing, I've talked to Devin about this, we need to get everyone, if they want to know what's going on, the progress activity that can be posted on the website on a regular basis based upon, you can photograph the, you know, the I-beams and, you know, the skeletons coming up. In other words, some physical activity or manifestation going on. And then that could be all posted on the website. So have a dedicated landing page. So it's the official landing page of actually following the progress of the project. And so it could be monthly, it could be depending what's going on the site. I would say minimally monthly, in which Devin and we can take a few photographs, get a few comments from the contractor or from Mark, so we can always have something up on the website. The website is actually real-time activities. And at that point, I would send also, and this was a good idea from Kat, a postcard. Everyone has the URL, every group in town, whatever, the town council, the board of ed, whatever they want to see what's going on. This landing page is the information section about the progress of the project until the end. So they don't have to hunt and peck on the website. They will have this URL. And I just think it'll just minimize what's going on kind of thing. And, you know, so where people can get the information. I hope this all makes sense to you guys.
Makes sense to me, Ira. I think, yeah, we're gonna, once it actually, you know, we break ground, I think that's what it becomes. And people want to see less around the timeline. They want to see the snapshots of the building. We manage to that, you know, with a kind of the understanding of we're still on track, we're still on target, you know, all those kind of things. But I think that makes sense.
Yeah, the foundation's going up, you know, you know, the stuff they're seeing physically, the investment, what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of when, you know, I saw this old house used to do these timeline pictures. And think of it, you know, visually showing the progress of the building. And people get excited about that. You know, they're seeing, because it moves like a snail every day. You know, what you do today. So if you have a month and this is up, you know, then it's like the season, you think of the season changes. God, it was just summer, the leaves are out, they turn, and we're in the middle of winter and snow. You don't tend to think of it, you know, in terms of, you know, you think of big lumps of time. So anyway, I thought this is where being extremely visual would probably be helpful.
Yep,
So
makes sense.
those are my thoughts, and I'll get this back to you guys. And then what we should do is just, again, for the next following year, I could work with Kat and Meg on, you know, the newsletter coming out again, and, you know, follow the same scheduling, and then deal with the following year. So if we follow this kind of cadence, you have a game plan always with what's going on. And I think up to the construction, when the building's opening, it's just going to be highlighting what's going on. Scott, can you think of anything that would, knowing that this construction is going to be going on, that it's going to affect once it's fenced in and it actually starts construction, that you think in terms of the students and the engagement going on over there?
Having never built a brand new school in my life, Ira, I'm not sure how much noise, you know, those are things I wonder about. I imagine our campus is going to be quite a bit impacted just based on, you know, so it will take some getting used to. I think things we've already mentioned, like the traffic pattern. Obviously, we'll have to do some guidance for students around staying away from the fence in the construction area. Is a really important concern, right? Not, you know, it's like, I don't know, when you was an elementary administrator, like snow was like an attractive nuisance sometimes, right? There's a lot going on over there, so you want to go and check out what's happening. So I'm not sure if that is, but I think it's important for us to be clear about, you know, being away from that area, and there'll be appropriate signage and all those other components for safety as well. So again, I think the campus, and then other than that, my assumption is we'll be able to operate pretty functionally within our school building as we always have. If you're in the 900s or 800s hallway, you'll have if you look out the window, you may have a better view of what's transpiring. But for the rest of the build, or maybe up on the 200s or 300s, as you climb the stairs, you'll see it. But otherwise, I expect our school to function pretty normally. The other impact will be on the athletics teams, some of the athletics teams. So, baseball will be impacted. There's already a remedy for that.
What about football?
A lot of our kids travel off campus already, so it's not a wild departure from what they're already doing. It's just our baseball team will be impacted. We'll have to, our plan right now is to have Irving Robbins is going to have a full-size ball field put on there, so that'll replace the ball field we're losing at FHS, and our tennis team is going to be impacted as well. So I think those are spring sports, so the immediate impact on them won't be felt until March, April, May of 2023. But communicating those things, otherwise the rest of our teams are already off, mostly off campus.
What about football, Scott? Is that going to still happen on campus?
Football will still happen on campus. We'll have we will have our turf field, and then some of their practice field will still remain. But yeah, football will still be on campus.
Is that going to affect parking and visitors and coming to the game, you think?
I got a brief summary of what was discussed this afternoon, and I think will be presented again tonight. So I'll have to understand a little bit more about that, Ira. I think there'll be some disruption to that that we have to still get sorted out. Meg, am I on track with that? But it'll be a little bit less than what I had anticipated based on what Matt and I were talking. I was on the phone with him while the meeting was happening.
It's one other thought.
A little less impact, Scott, or a little less parking?
A little less, both. A little less impact than I had anticipated, and I thought it was going to be a lot less parking, but it seems to be a little less parking from what Matt was describing.
Yes, I was that analysis that they gave us was very helpful to see the number of parking spots. That was it made things very clear. So yeah, I agree. No, you're right on track, Scott, I think. Yep.
Yeah, you might have a longer walk to the field if you really had a huge, big event, but I think you'll have plenty of after school hour parking up there for what you're going to be doing.
Mark, let me ask you, is there going to be, is there security cameras or a security person there 24/7 on site?
As part of the construction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I don't believe so. There'll be security lighting, so those kinds of things. The site will be lit for security purposes. I don't feel like that, unless the town of Farmington has a different feeling, but given where the campus is and off away from the, up above, I don't see that there's a need for that. Does the town have 24-hour security driving through the parking lot? Do the police come through occasionally?
Well, I'm talking about materials hanging around where, stuff's being stolen in terms of materials. Are they secured?
That's a question for O&G and whatever provisions they would be putting in play, to satisfy
what
they think.
Something, there's some of this has been going on. Scott,
yeah, it'll be fenced in. The gates will be locked. The site will be lit.
So I don't know. Get vicious dogs and electrical fences. So that'll do it.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
no, I'm just kidding.
I know. So
I know I bring up things that I'm sure you thought about these things, and I'm sure O&G is probably aware of some of the stuff, particularly with materials. Scott, can I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
When we do this, I thought about this in terms of your staff and your students. What if we take the presentation we're doing on a Zoom meeting, assuming not every one of your teachers and students are aware of what the new building is going to look like, and do a presentation actually at one of your assemblies so they can see this thing? Is that, I give them an education, have the architect there. I noticed it's out of, it's kind of, it's out of character. But given, like you said, I've never built a new high school, might be good for them to know, here's where you're going to be moving into, or that some of them anyway, where the teachers are going to see this design. Is that something reasonable?
They're scheduled to come in March, Ira.
Oh, they are.
Well, now it's gonna be April, Ira.
Oh, that's right. That's
because
right.
April. Yeah, we're talking
The
April.
presentation to the committee is not until March 2nd, and my faculty meeting's on March 1st.
Got
So, you know, we've been working on this for, I think I've asked them every month since January, so, and I understand why, the committee's got to look at the building before, 200 of my faculty and staff look at it, but they're coming in for faculty and staff. After they do that, I'd like them to come back in. They met with my principals advisory focus group, back in, Megan, that was August, I think, right? Or early September.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I'd like them to come back there, and then we could look at, like, Ira, we have a news broadcast every Friday. We have a news program here at the high school. So I'm not sure how long or in depth. I could also do, we have an advisory period. We've done, like, last week, we brought in an expert on internet safety. And so we did an hour extended, and I've done a couple other ones, forums and things like that. So we have a schedule where if I wanted to bring it to students, I could add it to our schedule, and we could have a 45 minutes or an hour of a presentation and a Q&A after, and those kinds of things.
No, that'd be, I think that'd be great, and so, because, some of the kids will be there in their freshman or sophomore year, but I'm just thinking the kids understand how a new building, what went into it. It's partly education, partly understanding, and, it's, people just take spaces for granted, but showing the thought and activities that are going to be going on and why, might be interesting beyond obviously the staff is obviously very interested. They're going to, where am I going? What classroom do I get? Stuff like that. But the kids to learn about how this all happens, probably a good education experience.
Yeah, I'd almost want to include Irving Robbins if we did something like that too, because those kids
Sure.
are coming, you know what I mean? They're going to
Sure.
be there too. So I would just coordinate. I'd like to get through the faculty one first in April, and then have a chance to reflect on the type of information presented, the flow of it, and those kinds of things, and then try to tailor what would be appropriate for the middle school, high school student. And then, but again, if I did it, I want to try to include Irving Robbins, because the 8th graders will be 9th graders, and the 7th graders will be there and experiencing a similar transition as well. So it'd be helpful to talk.
Is there going to be separate, Meg, is there separate presentations to the board and the town council? Or are they just going to go to the Zoom meeting?
Correct. We haven't heard any requests yet, Kat, right, for specific town council update. There's a liaison that brings back updates, every time the town council and Board of Ed has meetings. So they're continually updated, but we don't have anything specific as far as overall presentations from them, excuse me. But Scott, I just want you to know, as well, as you're working through the communications staff, student, whatever you need, parent, whatever you need from us, just let us know. So if we need to, if what we do isn't quite tailored, or if you need support around something, we're here, and, we've got some resources to help you do that. So just let me know what you need there.
Thanks, Meg. We're pretty good at stealing and repurposing as educators. So, we'll get a feel for a couple of spins on the track, and then we'll tailor it. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, well, I think you guys, good feedback. I appreciate it. And so we'll kind of formalize this plan, Meg and Kat, a little bit more, work out the details, and, kind of to-do list, identify someone for the coordinator for the
All right. I think that was the only thing on our agenda, right, for the meeting?
All right, so Meg,
Excellent.
this kind of calendar, the activities, it's just a little more detailed stuff to work out for April, the newsletter.
Yep.
So we can work on all that stuff, and what the presentation, who's going to be doing the presentations of the new building plan? Is that something you're going to do, Meg?
I will certainly be point on that. I will have to see based on content, if we need to bring some other speakers in, but, I'll certainly be part of them.
So I assume the architect or, the firm is going to be in there answering questions, stuff like that. But you're going to be the lead, you're going to be kind of the coordinator of Okay, good to know. Wasn't sure
Yep.
on that. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, so it'll be easy to do because, you know, you can honestly manage this thing pretty well.
There's moments in time Ira, that I can.
I
All
get
right,
it.
excellent. Thank you very much. That was really helpful. That kind of gives us a snapshot of what we got in front of us. So that's super helpful. And we'll just give the overall committee a quick update as well. But all right, excellent. So we are at 4:50. So I think why don't we give everybody 10 minutes to kind of relax, take a quick break before we have to re-engage again for 5 o'clock. But are we all good? Any other questions, comments, thoughts before I ask for adjournment?
I'm just going to ask Scott, if you want to go through anything, just give me a call, email me to work out some of the more of the, particularly maybe the, not too early start thinking of the groundbreaking stuff particularly.
Thanks, Ira. Appreciate that.
Sorry, Meg.
Awesome. No, that's all right. Nope. Nope. So could I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion
take-
to adjourn?
All right, I will second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. So we will adjourn at 4:51.